I just forgot to press it there. So I'm going to hand you over to Lynn, and she can introduce herself, and it's all yours, Lynn.
Perfect. Thanks, JJ. Welcome everyone. And I suppose it's strange, we're all sitting around in different parts of Europe at the minute. But it is good to get these up and running, and I know we got excellent feedback from William last week. So now you're getting a confusion of a Kerry accent and a Louth accent from myself. So we're really going to try and confuse everyone tonight. But we're going to keep this very interactive. And hopefully it's building on what William done last week, except we're going to, I suppose, bring in a good few more of the rules. My own role, I'm National Development Manager with Ladies Football, and William's National Development Officer, so we kind of remit across a lot of development. But we're going to have a bit of fun with this, I think, is the important thing, because the rules tend to be a boring subject at times, so we're going to have a bit of fun as we go along. So I'm going to share the screen, and we're going to get kick-started off with yourselves. So hopefully this will work. Now, so can everybody see the screen okay? Thumbs up if you can. Yeah, all good. So as you said, William and myself are going to chat you through the difference in the red and yellow cards and the fouls. So this will help both obviously as a referee, if you're a referee in the game, but also if you're a coach or a player, to actually know the differences between them is really helpful. And I know I coached the team for a number of years, and when I took them over, they were pretty renowned for their yellow cards in particular, for the physical side of it. So we actually done this with the players at the start of every year, and we went through the whole year without a sin bin. So sometimes knowing the rules, it doesn't matter then who's refereeing or anything else, it's about you playing within the rules, so that's important. We look at ball and play and a little bit on that, and then a bit on the referee signals, again to help the referees, but also for you to understand what's the actual differences between the signals. So we're going to play a little game, because there's no point in us sitting here and you looking at loads of slides as we go through this. So what's going to happen is we're going to call out different fouls. These are all exact wording from our rule book. Okay, so it's not, well, I seen a referee doing this, or I seen a player doing this. These are the actual rules. So what we're asking you to do is, if you have a pen and piece of paper maybe in front of you, it would be helpful. If you haven't, don't panic, but we'll give you a second to get a pen and piece of paper. And you could take note as you go along. If you think, when we put up the foul, you're going to decide, do you think it was red? Do you think it was yellow? Do you think it was non-technical? Or do you think it was technical? And in the chat, you're going to just write in R if you think it was a red card, Y if you think it was a yellow card, NT if you think it was non-technical, and I'm going to explain what that means, and T if you think it was technical. Okay, so a technical foul is one that you won't get ticked for. So it tends to be on the ball. So something like over-carrying, which a referee wouldn't tick you for, is a technical one. So if you think of the technical skills gone wrong, really. Whereas the non-technical ones are the ones you get ticked for, but they lead to a yellow card. So as we go through them, as I call them out, you're going to type in the chat R, Y, N, T, or T. Don't wait on everybody else, because they could be wrong and you're copying them. So just go with the thing. And William's going to call out what the majority is that people are putting in. And you can take a little note then in your pen and piece of paper of what ones you got right or wrong, because that will help you as we go along through it. Okay? So we get kick-started off. So as I said, the difference between these, the technical is generally a foul on the ball, which you won't be ticked for, whereas the non-technical is a foul on the player generally. So the referee will tick or note a player for these, but won't give them a card straight away. So technical versus non-technical. So the first one, persistent fouling. So in the rule book, this is a rule under either red, yellow, technical, or non-technical. So in the chat, in the little chat function of this, if you can write in R for red, Y for yellow, T for technical, or N for NT for non-technical. And William's going to have a watch out to see what's happening. How are we getting on, William?
It's looking like it's a clear yellow. Y for yellow. It's a clear yellow, Lynn. It's a clear yellow.
We told you we were going to confuse you with the accents, but we're going to get between them. So everyone has a yellow. And that is, of course, right. So everyone who got yellow got that one correct. And for persistent fouling, so if you're a referee, we'll be showing you the full list of non-technical fouls at the end. If a player commits 3 non-technical fouls, so 3 of any of those, they should be getting a yellow card. So that's where consistency comes. So 3 non-technicals is persistent fouling. So we'll go through the list and you'll be able to see what does that mean, and we'll come back to it. But you'll also see from this is a signal for persistent fouling. So if you watch the referee, she shows the yellow card, but she also puts 3 fingers in the air. Okay, so 3 fingers in the air and the yellow card. So that's really important because at times that signal only came in 2 years ago. And the reason it did is a lot of people were confused saying, sure, that wasn't the yellow card offence. And it wasn't, but the culmination of fouls was. So that's why it's the 3 fingers, 3 fingers and yellow card. So the next one. Picking the ball off the ground whilst not in a standing position. So picking the ball off the ground whilst not in a standing position. And the little video will show you a proper pickup. So you'll see there's no knees on the ground. So picking the ball off the ground whilst not in a standing position. William, how are we getting on?
It's looking like it's a clear technical fouling. It's a clear technical foul is what the audience is saying.
Okay, and the audience would be right. So in this case, it's not against the player, it's just on the ball. So when you're picking it up, the key thing, if you look at the player on the screen, if she had one knee even that touched the ground, it would be a foul against her. So both knees must be off the ground whenever they pick up. So just be very careful on that one. If you have any knee on the ground, you cannot pick it up. Number 3, stamping on an opponent or colleague. Is it red, yellow, technical or non-technical?
A red card then. A red card is what the audience from Europe are saying is a red card.
Okay, we had no Eurovision this weekend, but we're getting one with the rules tonight. So a red card, which is correct. And you'll see in a lot of our rules, it says opponent or colleague. So it's not who it's done on, it's what the action is. So stamping on an opponent or colleague, the stamp is what the action is. And that would be a clear stamp down.
As we go along, if there's any questions you'd like to ask, just put it in the chat and I'll log it and I'll pose it to Lynn. So if there's any questions as we go along, you can put the question into the chat and I can log it and we pose it to Lynn as we go along. Thanks, Lynn.
Perfect. So number 4, hopping the ball more than once in succession after catching it. So if you're watching the video, she hops it more than once. So hopping the ball, she takes a bounce there and she takes another bounce there. So hopping the ball more than once in succession after catching it.
So what they're saying there, Lynn, is a technical foul. Technical foul.
Technical foul. And that is correct. Okay, so again, it's on the ball. So more than once, you can only have one bounce. You can have as many solos as you want, but only one bounce. The only time you can have more than one bounce is if the ball was coming in high, for instance, you might get it and bounce it to keep control of it and then take it in. But if you caught it up here and took it in, you couldn't then bounce it. It's only to take control of it.
So it's like as if you caught the ball, it's like a basketball style up the field of play. That's when you can probably get away with it. But a player is going to come in and take the ball off you. So you'll have to take it into your possession. But if you get away with a few bounces, is if you don't bring it into your possession. That's the only time you can do basketball style.
And we don't have many pitches that allow us bounce it too far up the pitch either. Okay, number 5. Deliberate pulling down or tripping by the hand or foot. So deliberate pulling down, tripping by the hand or foot. And again, oh, sorry, I'm after giving the answer away there. You all got that one right. But just we see the video of it, you'll see deliberate pulling down. And you see that happening quite a lot towards the end of a game, where a team is trying to slow the play down. So that's another thing on the rules. It does not matter where it happens on the pitch. So just because that's a defense doesn't mean it's a different card to if it was an attacker. And also, it doesn't matter if it's the last minute of the game or the first minute of the game. No matter when it happens, it's deliberate pulling down or tripping with a hand or foot is always a yellow card. So keeping an eye on that one. The next one, kicking an opponent or colleague. So again, we have opponent or colleague there.
That's very clear, Lynn. It's a red card.
Everybody's gone straight for red. And we have very clear a red card. And that's a clear kicking action. Okay, so it'll be very much deliberate for the opponent or colleague. The next one, changing the ball from hand to hand more than once in succession. Okay,
clear
so
technical foul. So that they're saying is clear technical foul, Lynn.
technical foul. And very good. So hand to hand more than one succession. So you can have it in one hand. You can transfer it over to the other hand once, as long as this hand maintains contact, but you can't decide to change it back over again. You can only do it once. So that's the key thing. Changing the ball from hand to hand more than once in succession would be a foul.
I think the key to that is the contact. Both hands, when you're changing, is the contact with the both hands over. You can't do so.
Yeah, you can't just throw it from one to the other. Perfect. Pushing or holding an opponent. Okay, so pushing or holding an opponent, and you'll see the push there. So pushing or holding an opponent.
The majority, Lynn, think it's a non-technical, but there's one or two in the audience that feel it's a yellow card offence.
Okay, so we're caught between the two in this one. So it is a non-technical. Okay, so pushing or holding, and this is one that we ask a lot of referees to look out for. Ladies football is known as being a free-flowing game, and one of the reasons that stops the free-flowing is a player getting the ball, and the first thing to do is try and push somebody out of their way. So it's very clear in that it doesn't say that you have or do not have the ball. If you push or hold, regardless if you have the ball, it's a free against you. So if I have the ball and I'm coming running out and I push a player away, it's a free against me. If I'm a defender and a player is coming running towards me and I push them, it's a free against me. So it doesn't matter if I have the ball or not. The foul is the pushing or holding.
I think,
okay.
if we can remember from last week, guys, there was a photo of the girl and she was tackling the player with the ball in possession, but the girl in possession was pushing off. And if you can remember, what I said was whoever fouled first would be getting the free. So just because the girl was tackling the player with the ball in the body, the other girl was actually pushing off. So just be very much aware of that. Pushing off is just an offence as putting the ball on the body or hand on the body.
Perfect, William.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you.
And the next one, striking or making a striking action towards an opponent or colleague with the hand, arm, elbow, head, knee, or an object. So is it red, yellow, technical, or non-technical? So striking or making a striking action.
So the majority are saying red there, Lynn. Just a question, Lynn, if you don't mind, you can answer that, and I have a question here. Fine.
Yeah, will I answer this first?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please.
Okay, so the answer to this one is a red. So the key thing in this is striking or making a striking action. Until 3 years ago, there was a yellow card foul, which was attempting to strike. It was removed because it felt if a player attempted to strike somebody, and just because that player ducked, for instance, that player was getting away with a yellow card, even though their intent was to strike. So now it's all combined into one single rule, which is striking or making a striking action. So either way, even if they don't connect, it's a red card. And the other thing that has been added in is or an object, because there was instances, for instance, if a water bottle was thrown or a mouth guard or something else was thrown at a player, that there was no rule there to cover it. So now all of those are red cards, straight red cards. You had a question, William.
Yeah, one of the people in the audience felt that, okay, pushing is a non-tactical lane, but if there's pushing with a lot of force, surely the question is that's more than non-tactical. So can you just clarify that when they're saying pushing? If you're pushing with real force, does that change the offence?
There's 3 levels of things. So a push is a push. You're just pushing off. You also have a charge there, which would be with greater force. And then there's striking. So even for a player to be really flung out of the way is actually striking a player. So striking doesn't have to be with a fist. But also it's to remember that you have the push and then you have the charge, because the charge doesn't have to be a player with the ball. That can be a player without the ball. So if you're really going flying force into somebody, that's actually a charge. So,
okay, so
that would be covered through the yellows
force,
as well.
The force is important, and that will determine the outcome, the force of the actual action.
Yeah, the referee will be looking for the force and for the intent. Here are the 2 key words.
I think there was three things last week, guys, that we kind of went over: was the movement of the player, the force of the action, and the intent. I think just bear in those minds in these things, the movement of the player, the force, and the intent will determine what action it is. So good point, Des. Thanks very much.
And the key thing, as I said, in the push is realistically a lot of forwards get away with it when they have the ball, but it shouldn't matter whether you have or haven't the ball. So number 10, biting an opponent or colleague. Are we getting on, William?
That's a red card then, yeah.
Yeah, so fairly obvious one there in the red cards.
Just there, Lynn, just a question, just on the previous question was an object. You mentioned an object. If you throw a ball at someone, that's deemed as an object. Can you clarify that?
Yeah, anything that's not the person, an object of any sort. So flinging a ball at somebody, a water bottle, a mouth guard, anything at all that's an object that could be thrown at somebody with force. Now, obviously, as a referee, somebody throwing a ball to another person, I mean, meaning to throw it to them is very different versus flinging a ball at them with force. But yeah, a ball would be counted in that, of course, yeah. Okay. Okay, number 11, hand passing the ball without a visible striking action. Is that a red, a yellow, technical, or non-technical?
Sorry. A technical fouling is what they're saying.
Technical, yeah. So that's a technical foul. Again, it's on the ball. Now, one thing here in the men's game in GGE, you can just hand pass it in front of yourself, okay, using the hand or fist. In ladies football, as long as there is a visible striking action, it can be in any direction at all. So if I have the ball rest above my head and I slap it above my head, if I play it to the side, if I play it in front of me, as long as the ball has been rested and it's a visible striking action, I can play it in any way that I want, in any direction. And that's really important for coaches to coach and for players to know, because you can be stuck in a corner somewhere, not able to get the hand pass out, whereas you could be hand passing it between your legs or over your head to get it out. But what the referee will look for is that the 2 hands are not moving at the same time, because if they are, there's no way there could have been a visible striking action because they were both at the same time. Whereas if one's static and the other's moving, then you can have a visible striking action.
I think there on that one, Lynn, for a player and for a coach, the key here learning is that one hand is static and one hand is moving. Because if there's 2 hands moving, it looks as if you threw the ball. Now, if you want to get more distance and more accuracy, one hand static and the other hand moving is what you coach. Okay? Some players think by doing it both hands, they get more distance and they get more accuracy. But no, actually, you get more distance and accuracy by having one hand static and the other hand and follow through. So follow through is where you get more. So from a coaching perspective and for you as a player, it's important to be aware of that as well. Okay.
Yeah, and that's one a lot of coaches and players don't necessarily know, particularly because of the differences. So it's a good one to know. Number 12, bringing the hand in contact with the body of an opponent for the purpose of dispossessing or of the ball. So bringing the hand in contact with the body of an opponent for the purpose of dispossessing or of the ball. You'll see in this tackle, the player hits the body of the opponent, not the ball.
So hopefully, Lynn, they get this one right from last week. So they're saying it's a non-technical foul, so they're basically saying you're fouling the body.
Excellent. Okay, so William taught you well last week. So the non-technical. So in this one, and obviously we'll have the fist coming up shortly. But this one, when the ball is in the body at all, it cannot be tackled. So we're not going to go through the ones I suppose William spent plenty of time on last week. We'll try and concentrate on the other ones around that. Another one that was covered last week, but just to check, is it red, yellow, technical or non-technical, do you think? It's charging of an opponent with the shoulder to the upper body. So charging of an opponent with the shoulder to the upper body. So
Lynn, the audience are saying it's a yellow card, and I think that was the second clip we used last week. So they are saying it's a yellow card, and if memory serves me right, it was the Sligo one. So yes. Ooh.
Yeah, so people got that one right too. So that one is one that has just been changed at Congress this year, with the shoulder to the upper body. So we now have 3 different levels of charge, which William would have went through, and this one is a yellow. So this one is a straight sin bin. Deliberate high tackle. So is it red, yellow, technical or non-technical? Again, I think another one, William, you had in the mix last week.
Yeah, so then they're saying red card, and I suppose going back to the movement and the force and the intent, it's deliberate, it's high, they're saying it's a red card.
Yeah, and the key word in that one obviously is being deliberate. So we do have a level down, which is just high tackle. And the key thing in the high tackle, which William would have mentioned, is the high tackle in ladies football is from the chest up, not from the neck up. So from the chest up is a high tackle. Number 15, the use of foul or improper language never happens on the pitch. I know that.
Now, with this one, guys, this is just in general. This is, for example, you did a bad pass and you go, whatever. So this is to no one. It's just use of foul and improper language, just to yourself, directed at no one. So they're saying that's a non-technical foul. They're actually saying it is a foul and it's a non-technical foul and a free should be given.
Yeah, so the answer is non-technical. As William explained, this one is when you're not aiming it at anybody. And we've a few more coming up, so I'm not going to ruin the other ones because we'll ruin the answers on you. But on this one, it's very much that it's not aimed at anyone, but it's still a foul. It's not part of the game. It's not wanted to be there. I was at a game where a full forward was the free taker and had a horrible game, God love her. Every free she was kicking was going wide. So she kicked the first one, roared out language, inappropriate language, shall we say, but it was clearly heard in the stand. The referee gave a free against her and warned her. She'd done the same thing 2 times again. So the referee ended up having to sin bin her because of it. Now, the language was at nobody, but it was 3 non-technical fouls.
And I think, Lynn, that's one rule that I don't think players and maybe coaches are aware of. And also referees should probably implement a lot more in terms of if they do hear foul, they can inform the player next time, 2 times are gone. You just need to be more aware of that and educate our players and our coaches in that. Definitely. That's a big one.
Yeah. And we'll talk about the different languages. We'll talk about the different levels of it now as we go up through the next few because we don't want to give away the answers for you.
Can I just come in there, Lynn? Would I be right in saying that if the player uses the foul language while she's standing inside her own penalty area, it's a penalty?
Yeah, inside it's so wherever in the small rectangle, any foul is.
The small rectangle, yeah, not the large
small rectangle. Yeah, any foul in the small rectangle.
Yeah. So if the goalkeeper, for example, possibly would be just one for your goalkeeper. I've never seen it given, but I do remember coming up in a discussion last year. Okay, thanks.
No problem. Thanks, JJ. 16, and this is one of those language ones. Striking, threatening, using abusive language to, or interfering with a match official. So striking, threatening, using abusive language to or interfering with a match official.
So Lynn, straight up, anything to do with a match official, not tolerated. Red card is what the audience is saying.
Okay, and it's a straight red card. And we're going to come to a different level down in relation to officials, but this is really striking, threatening, or that real threatening or abusive language where a referee doesn't feel safe or something thrown at them. And one thing we would stress to the referees, I meet referees regularly and they're like, the abusive language we have to deal with. And I always ask them, well, what card did you show? And if they didn't show a red card and report it, my answer is hell rub it into you. Because the only person who can stop this language is the referee. So by reporting players and by sending them off, that's how we stop this language. And thankfully we don't see a huge amount of it, but if it is done, it's really important that it's dealt with. 17, kicking the ball with intent as the opposing player is about to pick it up. So kicking the ball with intent as an opposing player is about to pick it up.
So then the majority are saying here that it's a yellow card because of the intent.
Okay, excellent. And the key word in that was the with intent. And I suppose to take notice, the ball is counted as being in the player's possession when the hands go below the knee, not when the hands are on the ball. So as soon as the player's hands go below the knee, it's counted that they're about to get it, because within a second, the fingers are there. So as soon as they go below the knee. But what I would say is, below the knee, and they are beside the ball. I've seen a few players shouting, oh, referee, my hands, and they're about 3 foot away from the ball. So that they are there at the ball and their hands are below the knees. So the key word in that one is the with intent. 18, a sliding tackle. So a sliding tackle. Again, you can see in the video, the sliding tackle.
The majority Lynn think that's a red card offence.
Okay, and the answer is yellow. Now, in the rule book, there is also a deliberate sliding tackle. So the deliberate one is the straight red card, is the leg breaker, the really dangerous one. Where if you look at the one that's in this clip, it's still a sliding tackle, so it's still a yellow card, but it's not extremely dangerous. You can see she's not going in with massive force or intent, so it's still a yellow card. But if that was a real coming at speed, with greater force, greater intent, it would be a deliberate sliding tackle, which would be a red card offence.
Yeah, so I suppose the movement there, then again, the movement of the player coming in at pace, the force that she applies, and the intent shown, that would be a totally different animal altogether.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. 19, we're nearly there, promises. Diving on the ball as another player is about to pick it up. So diving on the ball as another player is about to pick it up. And you'll see in this, the player diving in on the ball as another player is about to pick it up.
So Linda, the majority think as it's diving on the ball and it's going, a lot of people think it's non-technical then. A lot of people think it's non-technical.
Yeah, so this one is one that confuses people at times because people think it's technical because it's one of the only non-technical ones that has the ball in it. But the reason that it's in the non-technical side is the diving on it, so it's still quite dangerous. It's on the player, so it's non-technical. So anyone who had non-technical there, perfect. So you cannot dive in on it. And the other thing is, some people think diving in can be with the feet or the hands. It can be anywhere that you're actually diving in on the ball. 20 then, again, one of the ones William covered last week, a deliberate charge, including frontal charge, or jumping at an opponent, colleague, or official.
So then the majority are saying red card.
And the answer is, of course, red card.
This is a good way to check for understanding, Lynn. So I think a bit of learning last week was good. So thanks, guys. I was sweating there for a second.
William's happier than anybody. So the deliberate charge, so again, the key word being deliberate in relation to it, but you can see in that one again, opponent, colleague, or official. So it's not necessarily who, it's the what. Bringing the ball into possession whilst on the ground. So again, in the little video clip, you'll see the player bringing the ball into possession. There you are, clearly into possession while on the ground.
So the majority are saying it's a technical foul, a foul on the ball.
And that is the correct answer. So for this one, a player who's on the ground can't bring the ball into the possession, but they can play it away from themselves. So you can play it away, but you can't bring it into your possession. Again, something that's really important to coach your players, that if you're stuck, you can play it away from yourself, but you can't bring it into your possession. And that's something, again, some players wouldn't know. So really important to make sure they're aware of that.
Lynn, can you clarify with the audience regarding scoring of a goal? So if I was in possession of the ball and I spilled the ball, can I score a goal by hitting the ball along the ground with my hand?
Yeah, so if William was coming running through there in the picture that we see, and he's coming towards the small rectangle and he falls over and spills the ball, he can then still play it away from himself. And if it goes into the goals, a goal will count. And a number of years ago in an Ireland semi-final was actually decided on a goal exactly that way. So if the players didn't know they could do it, they probably wouldn't have got to the All-Ireland final. So that's what we're saying, known as yes. So William, if you spelt it on your way in, it was in your possession, and it goes into the goals, the goal will count. 22, we're only got up to 25, so we won't have you on all these all night, don't worry. Using racist, sectarian or homophobic language or gestures towards an opponent, colleague, mentor, match official or spectator.
Yeah, Lynn, I think that's very sensitive. It's not acceptable at any level. Red card.
Yeah, and again, one of the obvious ones, the straight red. And you can see all the people that details. And I did see it with a player shouting something at a parent who was actually in the crowd, and they got a straight red card, and rightly so. So it's against any of those. 23, third player tackle, including body checking an opponent.
So this is where, you know, you give a pass and you want to receive the pass back, but someone blocks you from getting that pass. Third player tackle.
What do we think, William?
The majority is saying yellow, Lynn.
Okay, and the answer is non-technical. Okay, so third player tackle, exactly as William described it there, or body checking an opponent, is that non-technical foul. Now again, if they strike an opponent or they do a charge with force, very different. And this is literally on the third player tackle and body checking an opponent.
And I suppose with that one, Lynn, they're standing their ground. Just a question there, Lynn, just came in just to clarify, going back to the language. And if a player says to a non-Irish player, for example, because their skin or their colour, that you're Irish and you know the rules, is that deemed racist language?
I know we actually had this discussion in Europe at one stage. And for some, it was a group, I can't remember, I think it might have been in Spain, but we were having the discussion. And for some of the Irish, they were delighted to say you're Irish and you know the rules, because they got it. But I think the thing in this, yeah, like if they're saying any creed or anything else, you have to treat everybody the same. And it's also very different to say to somebody, I could say to William, you're from Kerry, William, and it's a football county. You know the rules more. I'm from Louth. We don't know enough. We don't know enough of them. So it's also the tone and the language that's shown, William. There's a big difference between saying you're Irish, you know the rules, versus, well, a lot more tone and definition in that's seen as aggro against the player. Well, in that case, yes, and that would be seen as language.
Thanks, Dave. Thank you.
24, second last one. Deliberately not moving back to allow a quick free to be taken. So deliberately not moving back to allow a quick free to be taken.
So the majority there are saying it's a non-technical foul.
Very good, and it is non-technical. And in this case, the free has already been given. So the referee will move it forward 13 metres. And in another difference with the GEA, you can only move it forward once in the men's. In the ladies, if something happened again, say they didn't move back again, it's another 13 metres. They didn't move again, it's another 13 metres, but I think a player will have learned at that stage to get out of the way. But also, if it has been moved forward directly in front of the goals, 13 metres, and something happens, then it's moved to the penalty spot. So it can move forward as many times as needed, if the referee so-called needs it. And the last one of these, and this is the reason we didn't ruin the language from the start, threatening or abusive language or gestures towards an opponent or colleague. So threatening or abusive language or gestures towards an opponent or colleague.
So what's coming up here is that it's a red card. So they're saying that if it's to any threatening or abusive damage towards an opponent or colleague, it's a red card.
Okay, and the answer is a yellow. Okay, so if we look at the levels of language we've had already, that abusive and threatening language to a match official was a red. The threatening or abusive language or gestures towards an opponent or colleague is a yellow. And a key word in that is or colleague. And I have seen where two players in the one team fell out, roaring abusive language at each other. That was 2 sin bins, 2 yellow cards. The other level of language that sits under yellow is dissenting with or challenging the authority of a match official. So that's kind of a level down for a match official where it's not real threatening and abusive language, but it's still dissenting with them. Okay, or still saying something with them. And what falls into that category also is players must wear gum shields, mouth guards. So if the referee has asked them to do it and they put it in and next the referee sees 5 minutes later the gum shield is back in the sock, well then that is challenging the authority of a match official and the player will then be yellow carded, sin bint. So that's the level down on that one. And then the final one, which is no card, is the use of foul or improper language, but it is a free, which we mentioned earlier on. So there's 3 different levels of language there.
Just one there, Lynn, just a question that came in from a previous rule before we finish off here. How does the referee keep track if different languages are used and the referee doesn't understand that? I suppose it's very difficult to monitor, but that's a question that's come in that, say, different languages are used, but you don't understand what they're saying. I suppose there's something, I don't know, how would you gauge that or how would you track that?
Yeah, and I suppose the simple answer on that is if you're not sure what's been said, you can't say it has been said. So unfortunately, if you don't understand the language, now it's very different if you know it's something abusive being thrown at you because of the actions of the player, that's very different. But if it's just a word being thrown at you and you're not sure what it is, you can't penalise that without being sure. And I mean, we see that here as well. We have so many languages now playing the game. And some of the things that's said to referees, but they're not sure what it is. So unfortunately, unless you're sure, you cannot penalise because it could be something that wasn't at all threatening or abusive. But if there is that real force and aggression in it, well then you know there's something bad being thrown at you, and you can then use these rules. Does that help?
Yeah, that's perfect. There's another question that comes up. I think you're going to cover it in a few minutes, so we hold to that. So maybe people will check how many they got, Lynn. What do you think? See how many
yeah.
Yeah. And
have a look at your notebook and see how many you got. Let William know if you're a winner.
Let me know how many you got out of 25 guys. It'd be interesting. If you just be honest, it's okay. Don't worry.
If it's any consolation, I did this in Vienna before the finals last Friday, and I fell at the second hurdle. So moved after that, but I was already out because it was the last man standing.
Run, Tony. Thanks, Dave. Thank you very much, guys. Well done. Well done. Sinead, excellent. Oh, Mike. Stuff, Jessica. She's overall 20 at the moment. We do this in Ireland, guys. We don't get these results.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well
very
done.
Impressive.
Okay, you're all signed up as referees.
Very impressive.
Put you down for
here.
Yeah.
All good, William?
I think what we're learning here, guys, what we'll see. So yeah, the majority are getting over 20 now, but I don't know, not everybody's disclosing their hand, but that's okay. That's okay. You can, yeah, 17 out of 20, not bad. Yeah, not bad. Well done. I think you're good to go on then. Yeah, I think you're good to go.
So what we're going to show you, we've covered nearly all of these, so don't worry, we don't have to spend long on these. In our official guide, which is on the website, and there is playing rules there as well, and in multiple languages, you'll see these are all the straight red card offences. So we've covered, I think, pretty much all of these. The only ones we didn't cover were spitting at an opponent, colleague or official, which is G. H, which is deliberate pulling of an opponent or colleague's hair. And the last one there, inciting colleagues or opponents to cause or take part in any type of fray. So that was in because maybe somebody started a little bit of a row on the pitch, a bit of a fight, and then stood back and watched it happen. But if they were the person who actually started it, now they get a straight red card. So that's where that is. So they're all straight reds, no stop at go, straight to jail, into the red card offences. These ones are the straight yellows. So straight away you should be seeing a sin bin for every one of these, and we'll talk about the sin bin in a second. Again, most of these have been covered. Just looking at some of them, E there, blocking or attempting to block an opponent with the boot, as that player is about to kick the ball from her hand. So that's where that player would have to be right beside the player who was about to kick it, not a distance away. Bringing the fist into contact with the body of an opponent for the purpose of dispossessing of the ball. So that's something William covered last week. So you got the hand right that it was a non-technical, but if it's the fist that goes into contact here, it's a yellow card. And then you see there the dissenting or challenging the authority of a match official, which we mentioned. And the final one, feigning injury or diving to gain a free kick or penalty or get opponent cautioned or expelled, that's a yellow card. So if you're diving to get a free kick or a penalty or trying to get somebody sent off, you'll actually end up getting the yellow card. So all of those are straight sin bins, yellow card. And the sin bin, we'll come to in a second, but the technical and non-technical, we've already discussed the differences around the technical one being on the ball, the non-technical on the player, and I think in fairness you've done really well as we were going through those ones. So these are all the non-technical ones. Again, I think we've covered pretty much them all as we went through that. Impeding an opponent just means preventing them, so impeding them from getting to where they want to go. A player in possession of the ball leading with the elbow. So when I get the ball, if I come out with the elbow at all, it's a free against me. Now if I strike out with the elbow, very different. That's a red card. But I can't even lead with the elbow because it's seen as dangerous to actually do that. Frontal pushing of the player, which you'd see the tapping off the front of them. Chopping down on the arms of the opponent is an important one, because when the rule came in that you could only tackle with the open hand, a number of coaches thought they'd be very smart and they'd coach the players to go in with the open hand but to hit the arm instead of actually hitting the ball. So they go in and chop down on the arm, and what happens is if I have the ball and somebody chops my arm, the ball flies out of my hand and I lose control of it. So that's why chopping down the arms, and what the referee will look for, if I have the ball and I go to bounce, it's going to bounce straight in front of me. I'm going to try and keep possession. If somebody chops my arm, the ball tends to shoot left or right. So that's a good indication for the referee if my arm has been hit instead of the ball being hit. Provoking or intimidating players by verbal or physical actions. So again, provoking them either verbally or in something that you're doing. Pulling an opponent's jersey.
I think just go back to that one about the intimidating. Like,
Yeah.
you know, if there's a 45 being taken, I know in Europe the pitches are smaller, so it could be a 30-meter or 35-meter kick or whatever, and you've players waving their hands and they're jumping up and down and they're going, you know, or they might be saying kick it or whatever. They might be saying stuff that's not directly to the player. That is a free. Yeah,
that would be moving the ball forward because the free would already have been given, and then you'd be moving it forward. So any of those verbal or physical actions, as a referee, it's very hard at times to see or hear them because there tend to be little things that happen off it. But it's if you do see it, it's trying to nip it in the bud, and then it'll stop players actually doing it. The pulling on an opponent's jersey as well is an important one. You see this. If I was a full forward and I was going running through in the large rectangle and I got pulled down, you hear a lot of coaches on the sideline going, "Oh, ref, that's a penalty," and fair enough it is, but they're also shouting for a red card because of where it happened. So it doesn't matter where it happened, it's still only a non-technical foul. So even though that might be leading to a penalty, that player will only get a card if they've already had fouls against them. So it's leading to persistent fouling. Otherwise, it's just the penalty against them. So it doesn't matter where it happens on the pitch. The next one there is like William mentioned about the free taker jumping up and down. So they cannot do that. And then the 3, 4 after that are all very much in relation to when you already have a kick. a free kick, but the player either delays it or won't move back or kicks the ball away. So they're all the ones that's moved 30 metres forward, and as I said, as many times as you need. And the final one there was the charging of an opponent, which was the non-technical one. So William has covered them really clear last week in relation to the 3 levels. So the key thing looking at that page, if I'm a player and I commit any 3 of those, I should be getting sin bint. So maybe I drop down in the arms of an opponent, and the second time I pull a player's jersey, and the third time I charge somebody, I should be getting sin bint. And for referees on the line, that's why it's so important that you're taking note of these things, because we can't get consistency in refereeing if some referees are allowing 6 or 7 of these to happen and others are allowing only the 3. So that's where consistency really, really comes in, is that we nail this one in relation to the 3. And like for the pushing and holding, it's not every little tap, it's the clear pushes that you're noting. It's not the little taps. Anything on that, William? Are you happy enough?
There's a few questions that have come in, Lynn, but I leave you finish this presentation and I'll come back to those questions that have come through the group. Yeah.
Perfect. So as we said, that's 3 non-technical fouls. The technical ones are the ones they're on the ball at all times. So I think all of these we've covered, except maybe lying on the ball is one of them. And the last one there, hand passing the ball up and catching it before it touches the ground or being touched by another player, which you see more so in underage games, maybe with a strong little under 12 or something, trying to run up the pitch. They'll try and tap it over the head and away they go again. But they're all the ones that you won't get ticked for. So they're the technical ones.
So just in on that, so as you come to that point, there was 3 questions that came in. Well, 2 questions clarifying. Am I gone? I'm gone.
You there? Yeah.
You hear me, Lynn?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, so the first one was around jewellery. What can girls wear? What can't they wear? What should be covered and what should not be covered? So
no jewellery is allowed at all. The only ones that can be an exception, in some cases a player may have a stud of some sort that can't be removed, but then it would have to be covered. But anything that can be removed must be removed, because the rule does say there is no jewellery allowed. But if there's something that really can't be removed, then it must be covered. But otherwise, everything removed.
And obviously, they'd have the referee, if deems that, you know, they will ask them to leave the field of play to get it rectified if they deem something dangerous. They will ask them to leave the field of play prior to recommence the game, right? And that, or let the game flow, and the player will have to go and sort it out. Right?
Yeah, they'll ask the player to leave the field of play, but the game will continue without them. And they'll come back on when they've rectified it. Yeah,
another question that came in from Neve in relation to the high tackle. Just want to get clarity on this one, is in terms of, what if you did a high tackle but it was accidental? Is it still a foul? It is still a foul. Yeah. Obviously it's accidental, but it's still a foul.
High tackle is only mentioned in 2 places, and it's yellow card or red card. So even if you say it's accidental, it's still a high tackle. Your arm shouldn't have been there at that height. So it's a skill that's very much gone wrong and wouldn't be anywhere near a tackle. So it's still counted as a yellow card. So the minimal you're going to get is a yellow card. You're on mute there, William, I think.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Tony, I hope I read it right in terms of, just need to clarify the red and yellow and the definitions probably in the official guide. That's something we can take back ourselves and look at that. So thanks for that, Tony. Thanks for that comment. Yeah.
If I can come in there, Lynn, just one that I see in Europe a lot, maybe there's a difference in height, and a girl comes in behind and comes in over the shoulder to, you know, first of all, she's trying to legally knock the ball out of the, while the player is in possession of it. But, you know, I would say to players there, you need to be careful, because that's also a high tackle if you're coming in. Well, that would maybe Lynn, you know what I'm talking about? Like, girl coming in from behind, she's trying to play the ball, but she's actually coming in over the shoulder.
Yeah, and
to sweep the ball away, which is a foul in itself, but just in relation to the neck. It's
you're dead right, JJ. As long as it's high, it's a high tackle. But also, I mean, there is I don't know of any particularly ladies players who can tackle from behind and not foul, because we're not a non-contact sport, which people say we are. We're a non-deliberate contact sport. And as soon as you put the arm in over somebody trying to get round to the ball from behind, it's not It's really not physically possible, because the only time you can tackle is when the ball's out. So you must have fierce long arms if you can be behind somebody and reach the ball that's gone out in front of them. So you're going to make contact, and it's going to be a free against you. And as you said, JJ, if it's high, well, then you could be looking at a high tackle also.
Yeah.
And that's we kind of go back to last week in terms of, instead of tackling with the far hand over the shoulder, then we would always coach the girl to run beside her and tackle with the near hand. Or even just don't tackle her at all and push her where you want her to go, rather than doing that diving technique, which is always a foul.
Perfect. Okay. The sin bin, as we mentioned already, it's 10 minutes playing time if the game is 1 hour duration or more. And the key word in all of these is playing time. So it's not time when you watch, it's time when the referees watch. So if there's stoppages or anything else, that could be 11 or 12 minutes. But that's in games of 1 hour duration or more. I know obviously for some of the festivals as such, or the tournament weekends you come to, some of the games might be less than 1 hour duration. So the sin bin could be 5 minutes. Or where the games are 15 minutes or less, the sin bin is 3 minutes playing time. And in fairness, the lesser, the 3 minutes and the 5 minutes actually came from rule changes from international units, particularly in relation to their tournaments. So that's why they've been added in there. And if any of those games go to extra time, the extra time sin bin is governed by the time of the overall game, because there's no such thing as a new game. So even though you might have played a game that was 40 minutes, and then your extra time is only 10 minutes, your sin bin's still 5 minutes. So your extra time is not a new game. So ball and play, we've the last few little things which you hear, just to go through, I suppose, before we finish up with a few signals and test your knowledge again. For the ball and play, just to clarify, I suppose, a few things with this, it's something that's asked quite a lot. The key rules in relation to this is that the whole ball must cross the line. So it's the whole ball, regardless if it's a sideline or end line, and the whole of the ball must have crossed it. So obviously in the picture there, the whole of the ball will have crossed it, but if it was on the line and not fully across it, that's different. If the ball strikes any of the flags, it's deemed out of play, and that's, again, can cause a bit of confusion. Some players try to play on. So if it strikes the corner flag or the sideline flags, it's counted as a sideline ball. So the corner flag, so any of those flags, it's going to be a sideline kick. If it's a clash ball across the sideline, and what we mean by clash ball is two players hit it at the same time, and you're not sure which team actually hit it last, so it's clashed at both of them. If it crosses the sideline, the lines person will throw the ball over the heads of one player, so it's a throw in. Or if you haven't got a neutral lines person, the referee will just do that themselves. There's no issue on that one. So that's if it's on the sideline. But if it's a clash ball on the end line, it's counted as a wide ball. Okay, so a clash ball on the sideline, throw it up. A clash ball at the end line, it's a wide ball. So they're the key ones in relation to when the ball is in play. The other thing, I suppose, from the sideline kick, if the ball crosses the sideline, obviously it's a kick for the opposition team, and the player can take the sideline kick from the hands or off the ground. And one key thing in relation to this one, I know in the GGE it's a lot more stringent, that you literally cannot put your foot inside the line. In ladies football, if a player does take a step or two inside it, it's allowed. Now, if they take more than that, if they take 3 or 4 steps down the pitch, it'll be brought back and they'll be allowed another opportunity to kick it once more. But they are allowed that step or two. So there's a little bit more leniency in the ladies one than there is in the men's. And that's important just to reference the difference between the two in relation to that.
Just before you go into the final section for the evening, one question comes in, and a player has been sent to the sin bin, and she's overeager, and she comes onto the field of play before A, the time is up, or B, the referee gave her notification to come back into the field of play. What happens there where a player takes the law into their own account, literally? Yeah,
well, very much so. It would depend on if they had been warned not to come on. Well, then straight away they're dissenting with or challenging the authority of a match official. And that would mean either the referee or a lines person telling them not to come on. So that's another yellow, and they're going to be red carded straight away. Now you have in cases maybe where there's no lines people, like tournaments or something, and the player may not have known and may have thought it's still wrong, But what the player will have to do is go back off and serve that additional minute or 2 minutes back in the sin bin until the referee actually calls them. So the difference is between, again, that intent of knowing and not, and realising that the rule says dissenting or challenging the authority of a match official. So that's not just the referee. So if there was somebody in the line who told them not to come on, they're also challenging their authority too. So they'll be then getting 2 yellows, which is the red. Okay, and the last ones, I suppose, on the ball and play is the kick out. So the ball and play is kicked from the hands up or up the ground from the 10-metre line for yourselves, directly in front of the goalpost. And that's for a kick out or a wide ball. And the key things, I suppose, in relation to this is all other players except the kicker and the goalkeeper, or if the case it's just the goalkeeper, shall be outside the 10-metre line and at least 30 metres from where the ball is kicked. So everyone else is outside that 10-metre line and at least 30 metres from where the ball is kicked. And the last one is really important, particularly for your goalkeepers to know and for your referees to know. The ball must cross the 10-metre line before being played by another player. If another player offends, a free will be awarded to the opposing team on the line opposite to where the foul occurred. So what that means is, if I was the goalkeeper and it was a really windy day, for instance, and we've had quite a few of them in Ireland, and I go to kick the ball out and the wind blows it back into me and it doesn't pass the line, I can't run out and pick it up, but I can run out and put my boot to it and kick it over the line. And nobody else can come in and pick it up until I do that. So until it goes over that line, nobody can do it. Now, I can't waste time because there's a rule in the rule book that if I'm wasting time, it'll be a free against me. So I must go straight out and do it, and that's why the goalkeeper needs to know. But if a forward comes running in and picks it up before that, it'll be a free out to the defending team. But if a defender comes in and picks it up inside the 10-metre line, it'll be a free in to the attacking team. So the easiest way of remembering is when I'm kicking it out, if it doesn't pass that 10-metre line, I need to run like hell and go out and kick it over the line, and nobody else can inside that 10-metre line until the goalkeeper has kicked it out over it. So as a goalkeeper, I can put my boot to it again, but I can't pick it up again and kick it over the line. So that's in relation to your kick out. And JJ, I don't know if you have anything else in relation to that kick out. I know it was mentioned a few times.
Yeah, so I asked Lynn to put this in, right, because, and the sideline kick, the previous one, because of the technical fouls that I see in Europe. I think this is the one, these are the two that cause the most frustration. And I think it's important that teams are aware that you're almost, well, maybe not certainly, but you have a good chance you're giving away the score if your goalkeeper or your defenders foul on the kick out. And it's kind of that technical, you know, the referee might be seen as fussy, but the referee is there to impose, to decide on the rules, or to not to decide on them, to implement the rules. So it is something I would say to teams when you're going out, make sure your goalkeeper or whoever's kicking out the ball, because it doesn't have to be the goalkeeper, whoever's kicking it out knows the rules and they need to take control of it. You know, if there's a player inside and they're shouting at the ball, you know, and they're only 10 metres away or 5 metres away, it's really up to the goalkeeper to take control of that situation. That would be my advice. The other thing is just on the markings as well, because we have problems with markings on pitches, and in my experience, the ladies' pitches are not always well marked in particular, and I think probably ladies need to kick up about it sometimes, you know. The 10 metre is actually, we call it the 13, but as you know, it's 2/3 in Europe. I did put in a proposal there, and it was accepted this year, that the 13 metre would be done away with because, or sorry, the 20 metre, because basically because it's 2/3, you now have a 10 metre and a 13 metre line. So there's only 3 metres between them, and it's kind of pointless, okay? So we just brought the rule to make it everything at the 10 metre, you must be outside the 10 metre. And then the free, remember, it's a free in I think the only exception is possibly kicking it to the goalkeeper, but I think every other foul is free against the team, and that's, you know, you don't want to be giving away scores like that, or possibly a goal maybe if they were able to take it. So that's all. And the sideline as well, because I see it at games is you know, not so much players, more coaches and things like that shouting across that she's across the line, and you know, that's not a foul, as Lynn pointed out, in ladies football, within reason. It's, you know, it's a step or two, it's fine. and the referee can bring it back, but if he wants, or she wants. No, I think you've covered it, Lynn. I'm just asking people to pay attention to it and not to ignore some of these technical rules, because they can cost you a game and cost you a lot of frustration in a game if those ones.
Perfect. Thanks a million for that. Yeah, and it's good ones to keep an eye out on. The last little bit we're going to have, and we're going to fly through this in just a few minutes. We're going to put a signal up, a referee doing a signal, and you're going to type in for William what signal you think the referee is. So there's just a few of these to wrap up the night, and then we're going to let you go. So the first signal, you type it in the chat. So what do you think this is the signal for? So type it in the chat. How are we getting on, William?
The majority say wide ball, but 1 or 2 said penalty.
Okay, and the answer is a wide ball. And we're going to come to penalty in a second, so we won't ruin it for a second. The next one. So again, in your chat, what do you think this signals for?
A point, Lib. They're saying a point. It's a point.
So a point scored, very good. So a point scored, and obviously if you are in a game, maybe you're coming to the finals of your tournament and you have umpires, well then you don't need to signal as a referee because your umpires are doing it. Next one.
The majority say it's a goal, Lib.
A goal, okay. Goal scored, very good. And again, if you have your umpires, you won't need it, but if so, it's a goal scored. Next one.
Free.
A free. Excellent, free kick awarded. And something particularly for all our referees, sometimes either the signal's forgot and we just award the free, or sometimes we do the signal and we forget to award which way it is. So just making sure the signals are so important, because not everybody, even the players in the pitch, can't hear you. So we would recommend for the referees to say it's over carrying, to actually say it and the signals. And trust me, the referees who have real clear signals have a lot less aggro and grief at games, because everybody knows exactly what the frees are for. Next one.
A penalty.
A penalty. So obviously the difference in this one, for the white ball, you see the hands out. For this one, you can see the two posts are being pushed up against each other. So that's the difference in the signal of the wide and the penalty.
It's like airplane wings, really. Yeah.
Coming into Kerry Airport. Next one.
An illegal pickup. So they're saying pickup. Now it was slow coming in. Neve was coming in illegal pickup, fair play to you, off the ground. Yeah.
So off the ground. So in other words, like we mentioned earlier, if one of the knees or both of the knees are on the ground, they can't pick it up. They have to have their knees off the ground.
Once the knees are off the ground, you're good.
Next one.
Pulling up the jersey.
Yeah, so a pretty clear one. Anyone who watches Catchphrase, it is very much say what you see in all of these. So pulling the jersey. We're nearly there.
So a lot are saying pawing. One or two are saying pawing, but the majority are saying shoulder to shoulder or shoulder tackle.
Yeah, so that's shoulder charge. So the charge with the shoulder that we mentioned in the yellow. For pawing, the difference would be, and I suppose it's a lot different to or difficult to show in a picture, but the pawing would be where they're literally tapping and tapping and tapping and grasping at them, whereas the shoulder charge is holding on to the shoulder and directing it. This one.
Very slow. A foot in, stomping, foot in the block.
Very good. So foot in. So like we said, foot in, but then obviously if it was a foot in with intent on doing it, it would be up into a yellow card. Nearly there. You're on mute there, William. Oh, you're back.
Very good. Pushing.
Pushing, excellent. So the push there, so the clear push is what's been shown. So all of those ones are signals, and we're going to show you where you can find all of the rest of the signals, because they were just a few. But obviously the advantage is a clear signal, and I think William may have touched slightly on this, up to the 5 seconds after the foul. The key thing in this though is if you allow the advantage but the player should have been carded, you can then go back and show that card. So just because you show the advantage doesn't mean you can't show the card. And if you look in this little clip, just very quickly, you'll see the referee doing the clear advantage signal. So again, it's very, very important, because both for the players and the coaches, they know the advantage was being played. And whereas if the advantage isn't signaled by the referee, they think the foul wasn't seen in the first place. We have a referee's handbook, and we're going to show you a link just to wrap up when we get in this. And there is everything for referees, but we also would advise any coaches or players to read the amount of stuff that's in it. It's on our website, www.ladiesgaelic.ie, and we'll show you just for a second. But in it, you'll see pages with all of the signals. So all the signals that you need to know are clearly there, and it'll really clarify everything you want to know in relation to the signals.
Just there, Lynn, just before we finish up, there was one question regarding the mouth guard. No mouth guard, no game. Very simple.
Yeah, so William has answered that one. It is compulsory, and that's it. There's no option on it.
And I suppose regarding the signalling, Lynn, and I suppose in terms of from our players, and we go back to the point we made last week about consistency, the detail in the rules. If the player, the coach, and the referee have more detail regarding the rule book and being familiar with it, and get more clarity like tonight in terms of those signalling. So clarity mean clear signalling, lads. You know, engaging with players, just tell them what it is, very short and snappy. You get more consistency in our game in terms of the application of the rules. So that's what we're going after: detail, clarity, and more consistency.
Yeah, and I suppose just before we wrap up, if anyone wants to type in any question they have there, and I'm just going to see, can we share the handbook just while we're waiting on those last few?
So if you have any questions, guys, put them into the chat. I'll observe them there while Lynn is showing the booklet, and we'll be wrapping it up.
I think we can open it up if people want to speak in.
Yeah,
yeah.
If they want to open up, you can do so now. Yeah.
Just while they're having their thoughts there, I asked Lynn again, put in the signals, because in my experience, we have an awful lot of new players coming in every tournament and every year, and a lot of players don't look to the referee for the signal, and the referee could be signaling, and it's just really to get, it's not, you don't, most of the signals are intuitive, you don't need to know them in great detail, but at least look to the referee and see what the referee is signaling and follow that signal, and that's all you need. And also we have the language issues as well, so in actual fact it should be possible. Okay, it's better if the referee speaks your language, but it's not an absolute essential. It's just to have that players familiar with the signals and look to the signals. That's the reason I asked Lynn to put that in there. So.
Yeah, and I suppose just before we go to the questions, just you'll see there the referee handbook is available on our website, and it's actually a digital edition, so you can download it onto your phone and have it with you everywhere you go. But you'll see, as we said, literally every area you need to know about refereeing is there. And I suppose the good thing in relation to it as well, when you get to the fouls part, there's little videos to match the fouls so that you can clearly see what the foul is supposed to look like. So anyone, as I said, either coach or refereeing, we'd highly advise that you download that off the referee section of our website, and it'll really help you as you go along as well. So that was just to show you that the handbook's there too.
We don't want players pulling them out now at half time, on their phone, these digital, At least wait till the bar in the evening or till the dinner in the evening.
They'll have it all highlighted.
Yeah, just go, it's game's over.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's any questions there, William, or if anybody has any open questions for either of us before we wrap up. I know there's a lot of rules thrown at you, but I think it's good just to get the clarity between them all.
Hi Lynn, Des Rowley here from Vienna Gales. Just one quick question. Back to a point you made, a very good point. Something you don't see often. When a girl is in possession of the ball, she falls or is knocked, for example, in the small square, loses possession, and of course she can play it into the back of the net. That's clear. But what about the girl who kind of knows the rule very well, decides, let's get around this defence by accidentally or deliberately losing possession of the ball, falling to the ground, and playing it into the back of the net? It's a tough one to call. Did she really deliberately let go of the ball, or was she actually fairly dispossessed? I've never seen it, but anything like this. But it would be a good way for a forward to get past the defence.
With that one, Des, right? Like, if she's trying to do that, then she'll have to do some sort of throwing action to get the ball where she wants it to go. Do you know what I mean? There will be some sort of, so I think that's something you could observe. Now, Lynn can answer that, but I often wonder if you're going to try and do that, there will be some sort of deliberate action to get to the end point. That's just my observation. Lynn, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. You do see a lot of the times that they kind of have to throw it in front of them, and I suppose you're right, Des, very rarely will you see it. Probably because it's that close to goal, they're going to put the boot to it and it'll go right through the net. Because the chances of putting the boot to it versus somebody could block you as you're about to play it away from yourself is probably why it doesn't happen a lot. But yeah, you'll find that they'll nearly purposely throw it. But if it's not clear, you have to let them away with it.
Okay, clear. That's the answer. Thank you. Thank you.
Des.
Anyone else?
Do you all understand the loud accent?
They don't understand your question, William, because they don't understand the Kerry accent either. Just one maybe on the hand pass that I get asked sometimes during the game or whatever, or people say it's a foul. You can hand pass with the same hand in the ladies football, yeah?
That's tipping, Lynn.
Yeah.
So
you can toss it up and play it away with the same hand.
Yeah.
So toss it up and play it, but you can't toss it up with this hand and play it away.
Oh, no, you can't toss. But I'm saying in the hand pass, like in the men's, it has to be one hand off the other. But in ladies, you often see it. Somebody's maybe being fouled, and that's fine, or it's marginal and the hand is held back, which is obviously a free. But the referee might give you the chance just to play it away, and you absolutely can throw it up and hit it with the same hand.
I think players knowing that they can toss it up and play it away, and also that they can hand pass in any direction, I mean, that is hugely beneficial to help a player get out of a hole that they're stuck in. Yet so many players don't know it. And
then maybe another one that comes up in Europe, I get asked probably once at every tournament, is the ball on the ground, the player is in a standing position. Can she roll it to another player?
She can play it away from herself, but she can't put a rolling action into it. So if you put your hand under it and scoop it as such, what you need to get in a rolling action, it'll be counted as throwing it. But if the ball's in movement coming along and you play it away from yourself, yes, you can play it. So the referee looking out for that scooping action, because the ball would have been static, and they nearly have to scoop it to get it movement in it. Which would be technically throwing it, even though it doesn't go in the air. But if the ball's coming moving slightly and the player uses the hand to push it on further, then that's counted as playing it away from themselves.
Sorry, sorry, Lynn, just on that, Michael here, I don't know, can you hear me?
I can hear you, I'm spotting the back too.
Just on, oh sorry, this is Eddie. He just wants to say hello to everybody in GGA.
First, the youngest ever referee. You just need to sign off here.
First ever Zoom call. But I'm just wondering, when you're so somebody can't stop it with their hand and roll it to them down and do a pickup. They can only just roll it away. Is that it?
Yeah, they can only, so it should be in movement and they can play it away from themselves, but they can't just stop it and then play it away, because that's counted as actually putting it on the ground then. So it's very much, I suppose, the reason they're playing it away from themselves, a lot of it was put in for those players who were stuck in a hole or they fell and they want to get rid of it. That's why it's actually there, is to play it away from themselves, but not as a substitute for all the other skills that's there to try and get them moving the ball.
Yeah, because it is one that we see occasionally, and you'll get it with players who are, just learning the skills. The girl is in a standing position, bends down, there's a player 2 meters away, and they just put their hand on top of the ball, on top of it. They don't scoop it now. but put the hand on top of the ball and roll it away to the other player.
Yeah, so you will see in that case, like obviously their hands on top of it, and it's literally just, it's rolling it away, so the ball's in movement. So you may see where 3 or 4 players are nearly caught in a ruck as such.
Yeah.
And a player will get it to play it away from themselves, which they can do. But in a lot of cases where you see the ball static, you rarely see them just rolling it away. You'll see them kind of put the hand underneath it to try and get it away from themselves, which is actually throwing it away. It's throwing it out of their way.
Yeah.
So I think if that's all the questions, that's a wrap. Thanks a million to everybody for tonight and for JJ for organising. My co-presenter there, William, who's smiling away and giving thumbs up and everything. I know there was excellent feedback from William last week, and I think anyone who's done any courses with him can really, I suppose, ooze the enthusiasm that comes with him for the game, and that's really important in relation to it. But we really appreciate all the time you've given up last week or tonight or both nights, and we hope to work with JJ and the board to get a few more of these organised over the coming weeks. But we do appreciate your time, and thanks a million for everybody, and we do hope you pick something up from it, and we've got a bit from both our accents as we went along tonight. We tried to talk a little bit slow, but we get carried away every now and again. But thanks a million, and stay safe everyone, no matter where you are in Europe, and hopefully we'll all be back on the pitches as soon as possible. I think that's what we're all hoping for, but stay safe.
Okay, and thanks. I have to say, this week I was a little bit more organised than last week. I did actually agree a date and a time with Lynn and William beforehand, so there was a bit more coordination. But I don't plan any more sessions in relation to the rules. There were a couple of things that I would highlight in the referees work group where we thought we might be able to help players. I think last week, particularly in the tackle, but also just to know what those yellow cards and red cards and a few of those technical things. So I know that Jano Alexander is working with some coaching stuff, and I know that he's going to be in touch with the LGFA in relation to the non-rule stuff that referees don't really care about. This was all designed about that frustration and helping, and there's a kind of common understanding between referees and players, you know. So I will ask you I'll put it up. I need to find a better YouTube channel than my own personal one, or maybe the LGFA can put it up. But we have one in GGE as well. I'm sure we'll find a place. So, you know, it is a couple of months probably before we're back out on the pitches, and I'd hate to see a lot of this forgotten. You know, please feel free and take a few minutes at your training sessions, you know, to kind of maybe get, you know, paso a paso, as we say in Spanish, you know, just improve it a little bit each time. And that's it. I won't delay you any longer. Thanks a million for your time. Thank you, William. Thank you, Lynn.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you to the referees as well for coming in, but mainly thank you to the players and coaches who are all there trying to up the level and just make things, you know, a little bit better.
Guys, just on that, lads, I really enjoyed last week, really enjoyed tonight. If there's any aspect in the area from a coaching perspective, I know one or two expressed they like to see the coach, how to coach the tackle. No problem at all. In a few weeks' time, if you want something like that, we'll be more than happy to help you out. Please, guys, don't be afraid to email us, email JJ, the board, any ideas you want done. We'll be more than happy to help you out in any way we can. I really enjoyed it, guys, so thank you very much to everybody, and be safe.
And I suppose just on that, we have a suite of webinars, so just before everyone bombards us with emails, we'll be liaising directly with Europe. So as William said, if you want to link with JJ, and then we link with JJ just to put a series together of specific topics, and then at least we can link into them, because we're trying to link with each international unit. So we'll definitely put a series together to help you out.
Thanks, JJ. Thanks, William. Thanks, Lynn. Thanks for everyone.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Excellent.
Bye, Sinead. Bye, Dave. Bye, Anna. How are things, girl? Bye-bye. Bye, Michael.
Thank you very
Bye,
much.
Kid. Bye, Carmel. Bye, Neve. Bye, Rick. Bye, Anya.
Thank you. Bye.